Okay, so we're going to move on to reports of standing or ongoing Board of Governors committees. Committee may pass if they have nothing to report. Related agenda items will be taken up later in the agenda. Each committee is allocated to 3 to 4 minutes on average. Executive committee first, we had some executive committee meetings. This agenda that you're looking at today is the product of one of those executive committee meetings. Governor Abell, anything to report on the Apex Awards Committee?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, just briefly, the Awards Committee met on February 23rd to discuss renaming the Award of Merit to the Chief Justice Mary E. Fairhurst Award of Merit. This proposal is something that's come before the board before, but in light of the passing of late Chief Justice Fairhurst, it has been brought back to our attention. We received written materials on the subject from both Governor and President-elect Clark, as well as Governor Stevens. At that meeting on the 23rd, the recommendation received a unanimous vote in favor of the recommendation. It is on today's agenda for later in the day, and the materials are on page 382 of the meeting materials. I look forward to discussing this a little bit more and more thoroughly at that time. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any questions for Governor Abell? Okay, Personnel Committee, Governor Higginson is going to be here later, or I think she's going to be on Zoom later. I don't think she's here now. Maybe she'll want to touch on her report then. Legislative Committee, Governor Brent Williams-Ruth.
Good morning. And the Legislative Committee has had a wonderful session today, as Governor McBride will confirm for us, is the last day of session. The committee met weekly, except for last week where we failed to have a quorum. And so there's really not a lot that's coming out of it. However, there may be something regarding a future bylaw change in future meetings, because we did encounter one scenario where there was a court rules comment that came to us, but due to the existing bylaws, our committee is limited specifically to legislative action. So we had to pass on that, and we may be looking forward as a way to remedy it. Thank you, President Tolson.
Thank you. Any questions for Governor Williams-Ruth on the Legislative Committee report? I don't see any hands up. Hopefully I'm missing nobody. Okay. Nominations Committee, Governor Boyd.
Thank you. Our last meeting was in January. We took action on the Legal Foundation of Washington and the Northwest Justice Project nominations. Our next meeting is next week, and part of our discussions next week are going to be whether we need to change or how we can change the direction that we're sending out to all the groups that come to the nominations committee with nominations, to try to make it more clear, perhaps, exactly what information we're requesting from them. And so that should be an interesting discussion. If anybody has any thoughts about that, I would encourage you to send them to us or send them to Paris or come to the meeting next week.
Any questions for Governor Boyd? I don't see any hands up. Okay, Diversity Committee, Governor Angelou.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Diversity Committee has been very busy, and we are currently in the process of our own structure analysis of our committee as an entity. Unfortunately, there is a deficit in the bylaws with respect to our structure, and we are working to remedy that. We will be coming to this board with a proposal sometime in May, well, actually in May, to examine how to rectify the deficits in our structure. Basically, at this moment, our standing committee members who are not governors are not able to vote. And this is on the advice of General Counsel. We are continuing to do business as usual. However, we are complying with the advice of General Counsel. We're excited to commence work on the development of a diversity and inclusion plan, and we have a subcommittee that is just getting up and running. And coming up, we have a very important election for a diversity at large candidate, and that will be happening at the end of April. We will be making a decision about what candidates to advance for that position. So stay tuned for more work from our great committee.
Any questions for Governor Angeville? Okay, Long Range Strategic Planning Council, that's me. Since our last, I think, board meeting, we didn't have another meeting. We did have a report, I believe, from Anna Lanasa-Selvage. Is she here today? Could you, I hate to put you on the spot, but could you give the board a little summary of what you wrote to the committee regarding our last, didn't get a chance to check in with you beforehand, but I figured you'd be better at telling everybody what was in your report than I would.
Good morning. I will try and remember. So yes, I think the report was mainly based on an update for the stakeholder analysis chart that we did. We worked on that. We cleaned that up. And based on that data and information, Sarah Nagowski and I sat down and we started working on a communications matrix. So looking at the stakeholders that we identified, that we were able to get information on, identify how we were going to be communicating with them in the next couple of years, really, because the lease agreement is up in 2026. So we've got some time to start creating and building awareness to our members regarding what we're going to be, that we're even considering and thinking about lifting and moving out of Seattle or potentially buying a building somewhere. So we've got quite a bit of time to start creating and building that awareness. So the report talked about that. And then the report also talked about what we were going to be doing to potentially downsize the office space. Right now, we have about, out of 140 FTEs, on average, we have about 15 FTEs coming in to the office. And we have been advertising our space. So that way we would be able to sublet the space. We've had, I think, I'm going to be probably wrong on this, but I think it's about 20 or so tours that we have had since we've listed the space. The space was lifted about a year ago. We are also going to be pushing out some advertisements in Northwest Bar News, and we are going to be also putting additional more news and more advertisements through maybe our social media platforms and other ways and channels that we can let our members know that we have this space available for them to sublet. And then also I started meeting with an architect named Marvin Yamaguchi to start thinking through how we can get the floors move-in ready. The floors currently are not set up for an entryway and a receptionist. So it would be trying to figure out what would it look like if we could re-envision those floors, and what would it look like if we actually downsized to one floor with the current staffing needs that we have. So that's, I think, the report.
Any questions for me or for Anna Lanasa-Selvage?
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Our next meeting, by the way, of the Long Range Strategic Planning Council, I believe, is March 24th, or the day before our next ethos meeting. So if anybody's interested. Oh, there is a hint up. Brent Williams-Ruth, Governor Brent Williams-Ruth.
Thank you, President Tolson. So I'm listening to the report, and has the decision been made to vacate and leave the office space at the end of the lease?
I don't believe so.
Is there a timeline?
That's probably going to be a board decision, as you might guess.
Okay, so I guess that was my question: is there a timeline where, because I'm guessing that moving this monster of a machine is not something that can happen like 3 months before move-in. Is there an actual timeline when a proposal is going to be coming? I mean, which board is this going to land on? And when is the decision actually going to be made on that?
Can you answer that, Anna?
Yes, hello. So there is a timeline that's proposed. It's been in the materials for the Long Range Strategic Planning Council, and I'm happy to send it out to the board. The timeline would be about, I think, if I remember correctly, a decision would need to be made by this board probably 18 months before our lease is up on what we're going to do and what's going to happen with the building, whether we stay in Seattle, whether we buy a building. That's the rough estimate based on what the broker has provided for us. And it gave us a little bit of an extra cushion because I think sometimes those decisions and the process of decision making can take a little bit longer than the 12 months they originally had us at. So I backed us up into 18 months prior to the sublease or to the lease being expired in 2026.
And just to clarify, the lease is up December of 2026. So
Correction. Yeah, that's right.
the whole year is available to us. Governor Adewale.
Thank you, President Tollefson. I think we need to kind of coordinate whatever long-range committee is doing with the B&A, with the Budget and Audit Committee too. I feel like, especially the Budget and Audit Committee, subcommittee, investment subcommittee, and all of that. I'm really concerned that the long range committee is making plans, but I don't think we have received any report from the long range committee at the B&A. I may be wrong, and Governor Peterson is there. Maybe he can correct me if I'm wrong, but I have not received any update whatsoever with regards to this. So, and we are making budget plan, we are making fiscal policies and making all kind of changes, but I think the right hand should be able to connect with the left hand at one point in this process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? In the room?
President Tollefson, do you want us
yes,
to comment?
Governor
quickly?
Peterson? Governor Stevens.
I'll wait for the treasurer.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely be coordinating. We're so early in the process, though. There's no money being talked about other than reimbursing the council for whatever nominal expenses they have at this time. But all that will be going through the budget and audit, and then to the full board. So the right hand will be talking to the left hand when it is appropriate.
Thank you, Governor Peterson. Governor Stevens, still have a question?
No, I'm going to pass.
Okay, thanks very much. Any other questions? Okay, I believe we're on to member engagement work group. We have co-chairs Peterson and Adewale, and I'll let you guys decide who's going to talk or if you're both going to talk.
Yeah, thank you, President Tollefson. This one continues to be the funnest BOG committee of all the BOG committees, so we're always happy to report that exciting news. Anyway, right now the main thrust of what we're doing is trying to figure out ways to get feedback from the members regarding the structure, ethos, because that's really kind of the main thing on our plate right now. And we're also working with Michael to determine, now that COVID's starting to wind down, how to kind of best, reach out to members, just members in general, but also local bar associations, sections, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, it continues to be a great fun committee, a great committee. Governor Adewale, do you have anything to add?
No, you cover it all, and emphasis is on continue the work with ethos and encouraging members to be able to come to that meeting and be able to have a say in that meeting. We are trying to make that platform available for members to be able to have more time to provide feedback on WSBA activities and all of that. Thank you.
Any questions for our co-chairs? I think I missed any hands. Okay. Moving on to the Budget and Audit Committee. Again, Governor Peterson, who is our treasurer.
Well, this committee continues to be not the funnest of the BOG committee. In any event, the committee members are doing a great job and doing a lot of great work. I'd like to give a special thanks and shout out to Director Platchey and Finance Manager Wick, who have really stepped up in the last couple months and have really done a fantastic job, which I expected them to do because they do a fantastic job. So I would just happy to report that I don't think we've missed a step. We're on track. We're making progress, and a lot of great things are happening in the Budget and Audit Committee. And I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't say we have a positive variance of about $1 million right now.
No questions for our treasurer? Not seeing any hands up. Okay. Equity and Disparity Work Group, Governor Stevens.
Pass.
Supreme Court Bar Licensure Task Force, Governor Williams-Ruth.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the Supreme Court Task Force had its first meeting in a few months this past month. The new meetings are going to be at 10 a.m. on the third Monday of each month going forward. We are preparing to hit the road with leaving burning tire marks behind us, as our goal is to try and have something completed before the end of the charter, which is this December. The meeting specifically took some time and recognition to acknowledge that a presentation that was last received when we met as a whole in November really rubbed many members the wrong way. And that was specifically the report from the National Conference of Bar Examiners that ostensibly ignored and rejected any issues pertaining to the historical beginnings and purposes and impacts of a bar exam. We're very excited at looking at the other states that are moving forward, including, as past President Shichetti knows, the great state of Oregon. Their Supreme Court has unanimously adopted a framework to add 2 pathways to licensure, which is a new and novel concept that this task force is taking on, is that the task force is not simply saying bar exam or no bar exam, and if no bar exam, then what, but also opening the purview that there can be a multitude of different avenues for pathway to licensure, and that really nothing is off the table for where we're going, but acknowledging what that would do. I mean, if we had 6 or 7 different ways to become a licensed attorney in Washington, how will that impact our staff that work on the regulatory and admissions side of the bar? So it's really exciting. As co-chair of the task force with Justice Montoya Lewis, I have taken on the role of reaching out to the members to see where we are, so that way we can, because we did change the scheduled meeting, and for those that might need to have a substitute replacement, because we do want to get down and start moving forward and not have the appearance of just having meetings for the sake of meetings. So it's all good fun times. And if anyone wants to come along, feel free. Third Monday at 10, and I didn't think I said it was at 10 a.m. on the third Monday of every month.
Any questions for Governor Williams-Ruth? Governor Couch.
This isn't a question, but more of an add-on to this, which is at that last meeting, I also became chair or sub-chair, whatever it's called, of our alternatives to the exam subcommittee, which is going to be a big project, and the more ideas, the better. So I just wanted to give an open invitation to, if you have thoughts, ideas, dreams, research, data, please feel free to send me those and flood me with those, because it's going to be a big project.
Governor Abell, followed by Governor Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. President. And in light of what we just heard from Governor Couch, this might be a question or a comment for both Governor Williams-Ruth and Governor Couch. I wonder if either or both of you could maybe update us on any interactions that the task force has had with the law clerk board in exploring these alternative paths to licensure. Thank you.
I can say that I have not had any direct contact with anyone from the law clerk board.
I have, but it's been a little while, and we were talking about initial data stuff.
Okay, thank you both.
Governor Stevens.
Yes, Mr. President, I wanted to come back to equity and disparity, so I'll wait till we're done with Governor Williams-Ruth's report.
Thank you, Governor Stevens. I believe I am done.
Any other questions for Governor Williams-Ruth? I don't believe so. So the floor is yours, Governor Stevens.
Yeah, I gave a pass. I was looking at a couple other things, but I will just indicate that within the next month, the work group will come together and we'll probably be taking up proposals and recommendations for the two areas that we're working on. So filling out a little bit more. We have nothing to report now, but we will have something to report, I believe, the next time the Board of Governors meet.
Any questions for Governor Stevens? Hands up. You're going to ask yourself a question? No. Okay. Okay.
Would that be to be or not to be? No, I'm not going to ask myself a question. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks so very much, Governor Stevens. All right. I believe we're on to taxi cab. Past President Cicchetti.
Thank you, President Tollefson. Executive Director Nevitt and I have been working with the Supreme Court boards over the last few months to better facilitate the work in the administration of those court-appointed boards. These past few weeks, we've been working hard on a policy that meets the needs of both the administration aspect of the WSBA and also the independence of the court-appointed boards. So we've gone back and forth on some policies. I remain hopeful that we'll come together on something that we can both agree with and then eventually bring to the Board of Governors for review, concerns, questions, and ultimate passage. Special thanks to former President Mangia, former President Crossland, and former Governor Cherry, who've devoted an incredible amount of time and effort to this policy, which again, I think will be coming to the Board of Governors probably later this spring or summer.
Any questions for the chair of taxi cab, past President Cicchetti? I see that we have former governor and chair of the Practice of Law Board. He's on the line because I know he's going to be making a presentation sometime today, and I don't know if he had any questions or comments about the process.
Just to echo what Kyle or former President Cicchetti said, excuse me, I get to maybe too familiar in these meetings. I think we're making tremendous progress on this, and I really appreciate the cooperation between all of the parties working on this. And I think we're just working towards a very good conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for our illustrious past president?